Okay, so now let's continue our review for the Unit 4 exam, and we want to talk about how does a river erode. And so here's some definitions that you need to know for the exam. So what is dissolution? What is lifting? What is scouring? What is breaking? And what is abrasion? How does a river transport? So again, more vocabulary. You should know what the word solution means, suspension, saltation, and then traction. So why does a river deposit material? Okay, it's going to depend on two things. It's going to depend on the speed of the river, and it's going to depend on the size of the particles that are moving. And so a river is going to deposit its load when it no longer has enough energy in order to be able to transport it. And so the amount of energy, so do you remember we talked about kinetic energy was energy of motion? And so it depended on, it was like 1/2 mv squared. So it depended on the mass, how big the particles were, and it also depended on the speed, v. So it's going to depend on two things, and that's going to determine whether a stream is going to transport, erode, or deposit. Okay, and so here's a chart which I would expect you to be able to interpret. So if I gave you this chart on the exam, you'll notice that velocity is going up and down, so that the slowest rivers are going to be down at the bottom, and then the fastest rivers are going to be up at the top. Okay, then you should notice that going sideways is the size of the particles that are being transported. So the smallest particles like clay are over here, and then the largest particles like boulders are on this side over here. Okay, then you notice that it's separated into three different regions, three different colors, which represent when is the river going to transport material, when is the river going to erode material, and then when is the river going to deposit material. And so again, it depends on the speed of the river. So in general, the faster a river flows, the more it's going to erode. And then it also depends on the size of the particles. So in general, the larger the particles, the more it can erode. But in general, those particles are going to be deposited because they're so heavy. So they will just be on the bottom of the river channel. So just be able to understand that picture and note where, under what conditions will a river erode, what conditions will it transport, and then what conditions will it deposit. So now let's take a break, and what we will now do is we are going to follow a river from the mountains to the sea, and we are going to be looking at what kinds of structures it makes and then how it changes as it heads downstream.